The vibrant era of the 90s marked a significant rise in 3D fighters. Remember that iconic fighting game featuring a cyber ninja, a grizzly bear, and a colossal military robot with disproportionately tiny legs. That gem was none other than the original Tekken, developed and published by Namco. Initially hitting arcades in 1994 before finding its way onto the original PlayStation a year later, the game garnered positive reviews from critics. It serves as the maiden entry in the series. Developed under the direction of Seiichi Ishii, who was also the designer of Virtua Fighter, Tekken was originally envisioned to share fundamental similarities with that renowned title. Tekken stood as a pioneering force in the realm of 3D fighters. Welcome to Is It Good or Bad? A series dedicated to meticulously playing through and reviewing games to determine their quality. In this venture, my aim isn't to achieve pro-level mastery, but to grasp enough skill to execute brief combos and comprehend the game's combat intricacies. If necessary, I'll delve into research to offer the most comprehensive insights. Let's journey back to the 90s together, diving deep into Tekken, aiming to ascertain if it was truly as groundbreaking and exceptional as we nostalgically recall. This will be the original PlayStation version of the game, so keep that in mind. Let's dive into the game's introduction. It kicks off with a sequence showcasing moving gears, gradually zooming out to reveal Jack's face, followed by glimpses of other characters. Yoshimitsu engages in forest training, emulating the daily life of a ninja, while King adjusts his mask with a sense of determination. Michelle showcases her agility with a tomahawk. Law powers up like a Super Saiyan, and Nina is seemingly on a covert mission. This sequence then shifts to Paul riding his bike, leading to the focal character, Kazuya, demonstrating impressive prowess by extinguishing a candle with a powerful punch. The intro, by showcasing various characters, offers a tantalizing peek into the diverse combatants within the game. During the 90s, most fighting game intros featured sprites or moving pictures, making this detailed cinematic a rare sight for the genre. However, while commendable, the intro's excessive emphasis on the gears creates an impression that Jack might be a significant character, or even the boss, which might mislead players. Despite this, the overall execution of the intro remains impressively well done. Upon entering the game, the presentation stands out, particularly the attention-grabbing main menu. The combination of a light blue backdrop accompanied by striking lightning effects creates an engaging visual appeal. The game's title is prominently displayed in black English text, complemented by its Japanese counterpart in vibrant red at the top, a design choice that effectively captures attention. The menu modes adopt a cohesive scheme, utilizing blue hues while highlighting the active mode in a contrasting orange color. Surprisingly, the use of blue on blue proves effective due to its presentation within a slightly transparent black box, enhancing readability. However, the player select menu falls a bit short. It introduces a clutter of various fonts and colors, resulting in a somewhat chaotic layout. Both character select and versus employ red text with similar fonts, yet the countdown adopts a distinct yellow font lacking adequate visibility due to the absence of black shadows or outlines, causing it to blend with the marble frame. Also, character names are presented in white letters with bold black outlines and shadows, contributing to a rather disjointed visual presentation within the menu interface. The pushed P2 start prompt seemingly squeezed into a cramped space, giving the impression that it was fit there out of necessity rather than design. Once more, a different font and color, green this time, make an appearance, adding to the varied visual elements. The choice to use multiple fonts and colors throughout seems somewhat perplexing. Perhaps a more streamlined approach with one or two consistent fonts and colors would have provided a more cohesive look. This tendency for excessive creativity was common in the mid-90s gaming era. Regarding the character roster display, simplicity reigns with individual character portraits against a white background. However, a black backdrop might have enhanced visibility, especially considering the large portraits use black backdrops. I know people will say I'm nitpicking, but to prove my point, let's compare it to the character select screen in Mark of the Wolves, which uses a similar presentation. It's evident how a limited color palette and font selection contribute to a cleaner and more cohesive appearance. The small details can indeed make a substantial difference in overall presentation and usability. Upon character selection, the Versus screen unveils a blue backdrop adorned with the names of the selected characters in orange and red hues. While visually appealing, the challenge arises for players unfamiliar with the characters, as the lack of portraits makes identifying opponents difficult. Integrating character portraits here would significantly enhance the screen and let new players be able to identify their opponents, as newcomers to the game might not be familiar with all character names. Solely displaying text isn't an optimal choice. Contrastingly, the battle screen's UI maintains a cleaner appearance compared to the character select screen. However, inconsistency emerges as the stage indicator and push P2 start prompt employ the same green font from the character select screen. Additionally, the completion time tracking numbers are orange and red, while the match time indicator is red in the middle. The perplexing aspect lies in the disparate color and font choice for the characters' names compared to the consistent green used for the stage indicator, causing a disjointed visual presentation. The characters' names are displayed in a vivid shade of bright blue, often blending into the scenery, especially with the sky in most stages, causing a visual mismatch. It's puzzling why the developers opted for this inconsistent choice, seemingly using colors without a clear rationale. A more sensible approach could have been utilizing green or white for the names, similar to the location names displayed at the bottom right, which offer better visibility. Contrarily, these location names exhibit yet another distinct color and font, surprisingly more visible and perhaps a better fit for the characters' names. Moving to the flashing select view box, I will come back to what it does once I get into the gameplay. However, this box features a different font and color scheme, yellow with a shadow, which transitions to push select with push in yellow and select in blue. Maintaining consistency in presentation appears challenging for the developers. While one could argue that the select view demands attention, it's in a purple box, already a distinct visual element, making the need for a different color or font unnecessary. The life bar presents itself well and fulfills its purpose effectively. Starting as yellow, it gradually turns red as you take damage. Meanwhile, the round indicator takes the form of a transparent circle, transitioning to red after each victory. Upon completing the arcade mode, the credits roll against a backdrop of clouds, displaying an unexpected consistency with only 3 colors and a uniform font, white on the right and pink on the left. This rare consistency in the credits section contrasts with other elements in the game. Moving on to the segment where players input their names to record scores, it stands out as one of the presentation's highlights. It showcases creativity and uniqueness with just 2 fonts and avoids the clutter of multiple colors, illustrating how consistency significantly enhances visual appeal and avoids a cluttered appearance. In examining the game's presentation, let's delve into the graphics. Firstly, I must express my admiration. The visuals are incredibly impressive for a 1994 release. The character models exhibit an exceptional level of detail, evident in the meticulous animation of various elements. Kazuya's belt sways, Michelle's ponytail flows gracefully, and even Yoshimitsu's sword chain moves naturally. The textures and color schemes seamlessly blend, contributing to each character's uniqueness and making them stand out. However, one notable limitation in Tekken lies in the characters' static facial features. Despite cheering or yelling for victory, their mouths remain motionless. Consequently, the initial facial expression assigned to a character becomes their constant look throughout the game. This decision demands meticulous consideration to ensure each character's personality matches their fixed expression, a task executed admirably in the game. For instance, Kazuya exudes a fierce and serious countenance while Nina emanates a composed and collected demeanor. This attention to detail often goes unnoticed by many players, yet it deserves praise. While additional facial expressions would enhance the experience, the constraints of 90s hardware limitations often redirected resources to other game elements, because titles like Virtua Fighter managed such features in their games. The limitation here doesn't imply impossibility, but rather a strategic allocation of resources due to the era's constraints. This is the point where the game truly solidifies its iconic status, presenting vibrant colors and character designs that captivate the eye. Tekken's character design stands as a testament to its brilliance, particularly for its pioneering role in shaping the fighting game genre. The roster of fighters embodies diverse personalities and distinct martial arts styles, brought vividly to life through meticulously crafted character designs. Despite the technical constraints of its era, the visual depiction of characters like Kazuya, Paul, and Nina showcases an astonishing level of detail and individuality. Their unique animations are a fusion of cultural influences and imaginative artistry, laying the groundwork for the series' iconic visual identity. Tekken's character design not only served as a cornerstone for the franchise, but also set the stage for future iterations to build upon, establishing an elevated benchmark for memorable and visually striking fighting game characters. The character voices within this game are generally well done, but a noticeable issue arises from the reuse of some voices for multiple characters. For instance, Lee shares Kazuya's voice, and Heihachi shares Jack's voice, creating a disappointing overlap, especially since the boss character and a base roster character share the same voice. Additionally, the voice chosen for Heihachi is a robotic character and doesn't seem to fit well. However, if you can overlook these instances, the voices overall are commendable, primarily consisting of the character kiais, grunts, and cheers rather than full voice acting. Despite this, the voices are clear and suit most characters adequately. Interestingly, the announcer's voice strikes an oddly calm tone, which may not be extraordinary, but oddly fits well within the game's context.
Round 1. Fight!
Overall, while there are some notable drawbacks, the voices contribute positively to the game's atmosphere. Upon losing a fight, the game displays your chosen fighter on the defeat screen, depicted lying on the ground within the stage where the battle occurred. Following this, a continue countdown initiates, accompanied by the game announcer's countdown from 9 to 0. Should you refrain from pressing start, the announcer will then declare you lose. This feature was a common sight in many 3D games of that era, reminiscent of titles like Virtua Fighter. I'd like to discuss the stages within the game's presentation, although they don't play a significant role in gameplay. In Tekken, the stages function as fixed backdrops with infinite expanses, lacking edges that would create corner pressure in battles. This means that continuous backing up ensures your opponent can perpetually move forward without restriction. However, while there's the option for your character to sprint only forward, it's still relatively easier to retreat from your opponent, especially when holding a health lead and time is running low. It's worth noting that despite the absence of corners, allowing for unlimited movement, you can't fully evade your adversary due to game mechanics. Yet, these infinite stages do offer a unique dynamic and a strategic retreat. The stages themselves are visually stunning, particularly given the 1994 release. Representations of real places like Monument Valley, the mountains and scenery are aesthetically pleasing, providing an accurate portrayal of these locations for its time. However, beyond their beauty, the stages don't offer much impact on gameplay. Interestingly, the inability to select a stage in 2P play mode, the versus mode, might imply that the developers themselves don't consider stages as crucial to the game experience. The story of Tekken is about Kazuya at the tender age of 5. Kazuya underwent a pivotal trial orchestrated by his father, Heihachi, and a bold test of strength and resilience, carried his son to the mountain's summit and cast him into a trench. Surviving the treacherous fall, Kazuya bore a marked scar on his chest, a symbol of his awakening to the power within. Now he seeks revenge on his father. Let's explore the game modes available in Tekken, consisting of 3 main modes: Arcade Mode, 2P Play Mode, and Test Mode. Arcade Mode serves as the story mode, allowing players to choose from the base roster of 8 characters and progress through 9 stages of increasing difficulty. The 8th stage presents a fight against a sub-boss, an unlockable character, and the final stage culminates in a showdown against Heihachi, serving as the ultimate boss. Upon defeating Heihachi, players are treated to an ending sequence dedicated to their chosen character. These endings are showcased through full-motion video, also known as FMV, a technique utilizing pre-recorded video files to narrate action within the game, differing from sprites, vectors, or 3D models. While FMVs are commonly used for cutscenes in various games, titles that predominantly utilize FMV for their presentation are often referred to as full-motion video games or interactive movies. Tekken stood out as a trailblazer by implementing this technique, marking a groundbreaking feature within the fighting game genre, pioneering a method uncommonly seen in fighters of its time. In each character's distinct ending in Tekken, a window is opened into their potential or canonical path following the tournament. Kazuya's conclusion portrays him as victorious over his father, throwing Heihachi off the same mountain edge from which he was once cast off as a child. Kazuya then gazes at the camera with a smile. This iconic moment remains a pivotal and canon ending in the Tekken series. On the other hand, Nina's ending features a teasing interaction with her sister, Anna. Nina mischievously takes Anna's shoe, prompting Anna's frustration. The tension culminates in a playful revelation by Nina, exposing her hidden shoe and laughing with her back turned to Anna, concluding the scene. This portrayal doesn't quite align with the cold-hearted assassin Nina was described in the manual. Instead, it leans towards a more playful demeanor. It's not a point of dissatisfaction, rather, it's an observation that contrasts our initial expectation of a cold-hearted assassin with this playful scene. These endings offer brief narrative snippets that effectively showcase the characters' traits and dynamics, enriching their personas beyond the tournament context. Following the ending scene, the credits roll, leading to an opportunity for players to enter their names alongside the completion time for the arcade mode. Upon completing arcade mode, players unlock a new character, the sub-boss, associated with each base character on the roster. This unique unlocking mechanic ties specific characters together, like Kazuya and Lee. Regardless of the order in which arcade mode is played, Kazuya will always unlock Lee. The only variable is when Lee gets unlocked based on the order of character playthroughs. This system allows players to unlock their preferred characters by playing the corresponding base character, removing the constraint of unlocking characters in a predetermined sequence. With a total of 17 playable fighters, the unlockable sub-bosses mostly mirror the movesets of the base roster but possess a few distinguishing moves. Personally, I managed to unlock every character and completed arcade mode with each one. The only character I did not unlock was the secret character, Devil Kazuya, accessed by selecting Kazuya and pressing the triangle button. A costume unlocked by winning 8 levels in the Galaga minigame without missing one enemy ship on any stage. I've tried it a few times, then found out it was 8 stages and I was bad at completing the first. There are flight patterns you can look up for an easier completion, but lost interest in it. It's worth noting that the unlockable characters do not feature a unique ending. In arcade mode, I attempt to unlock characters by repeatedly playing a single character, such as playing Kazuya multiple times after unlocking Lee. This does not work, and you will not unlock additional characters. Another experiment involved playing as Kazuya, enabling the switch character on continue option in the settings. This allows you to change your character every time you get a continue, then intentionally losing against the boss, then switching to another character, and defeating the boss with a different character. However, this method also failed to unlock new characters, although it did trigger the ending sequence for the character I defeated the boss with. These attempts neither demonstrate a positive nor negative aspect of the game. Rather, they were experimental attempts to see if the system could be manipulated. Ultimately, the only effective way to unlock new characters is to play through arcade mode using different characters, and sticking with them. I wanted to mention as a side note that when playing Heihachi in arcade mode he fights only the sub-bosses, and in the final stage he fights Devil Kazuya as the final boss. Moving on to the next mode, the P2 players mode is a 2-player versus mode that necessitates the presence of a second player. Unfortunately, this mode doesn't offer the option to engage with the CPU, restricting it solely to accommodating 2 human players without any additional features or options. The final mode is called Test Mode, which might seem misleading given its title. It's essentially an options menu rather than a training mode. Test Mode encompasses 3 primary options: Options Mode, Records, and Memory Card. In Options Mode, players can adjust settings such as difficulty level, round count, and time limits. The Records section displays data like your most frequently used characters and your completion time in arcade mode. Unfortunately, despite the inclusion of these records, there's a notable absence: the inability to revisit the endings. It's regrettable that players can't rewatch these endings after completing arcade mode, especially considering the effort put into creating them. Back in the 90s, without platforms like YouTube, the only way to re-experience those endings was to replay the entire arcade mode, a process that required time and effort. So the best way to revisit it was the option to play on easy difficulty with a single round, easing the burden of replaying the entire mode just to view an ending. In all honesty, that's not an ideal option, just making do with the hand you have been given. The final option in test mode, memory, simply handles game saves and data uploads. One of the most glaring drawbacks of the game is the absence of a training mode, which severely hampers the ability to learn and refine combos. Without this fundamental feature, the only viable method becomes repeatedly playing arcade mode on easy difficulty in a quest to master moves and combinations. Thankfully, the game does provide a handful of essential moves in the manual, offering some decent starting points. However, perfecting these moves within the arcade mode setting presents challenges, particularly when trying to grasp the timing for executing combos against an opponent constantly retaliating. A lack of a training mode in the PlayStation version proves to be highly disappointing and arguably the most significant flaw in this game. While my familiarity with fighting games eased the learning curve, I can foresee it being notably problematic for entirely new players. It's worth mentioning that utilizing a second controller for practice on the second player could serve as a workaround for honing combos, making it potentially the most feasible option in the absence of a dedicated training mode. Let's delve into the gameplay of Tekken, a 3D fighter that distinguishes itself with a unique control scheme. Unlike traditional fighting games that use buttons corresponding to attack strength like light, medium, and heavy, Tekken employs a 4-button system that assigns each limb of your fighter to a specific button: square for the left arm, triangle for the right arm, X for the left leg, and circle for the right leg. This distinct approach adds a fresh and intriguing dynamic to combat, setting it apart from other fighters. Movement involves double tapping backward or forward to dash, while sprinting requires 3 consecutive forward clicks. Throws, executed by pressing square and X or triangle and circle simultaneously, can only be performed on a standing opponent. Attempting throws on a crouching opponent will miss, in contrast to some 2D fighter mechanics where crouching doesn't evade throws. Notably, despite being a 3D fighter, Tekken lacks a sidestepping mechanic, which has become a vital aspect of modern 3D fighters. Considering Tekken's status as one of the earliest 3D fighting games, its absence is understandable. One unique aspect of Tekken, not commonly seen in other 3D fighters, is the ability to move while crouching. By pressing down forward, you can advance, and by pressing down back, you can retreat while in a crouched position. Although I haven't utilized this mechanic much myself, I can see its usefulness, especially when dealing with opponents who tend to spam high attacks, and you aim to close the distance to engage in combat. In contrast to 2D fighters like Street Fighter, which heavily rely on special moves, Tekken, being a 3D fighter, doesn't prioritize these types of moves. It leans more toward a combat-oriented style. Characters don't possess projectiles or zoning attacks that facilitate a keep-away strategy. This absence maintains a balanced roster. Unlike the prevalent trend in 2D fighters of that time, Tekken emphasizes juggling mechanics rather than depending solely on special moves to win battles. When knocked down in Tekken, you have a range of 7 options at your disposal, consisting of 3 defensive maneuvers and 4 offensive actions. Among the defensive choices, the first is standing upright by pressing either up or down, followed by rolling backward with a press of the back button, and finally, rolling forward by pressing the forward button. On the offensive front, the first involves pressing X for a rising left kick. The second prompts a rising right kick with a press of circle. The third entails pressing X and down simultaneously to execute a low left kick. And the fourth involves pressing circle and down for a right low kick. It's prudent to avoid rolling forward as it leaves you vulnerable to your opponent's punishment. Its utility primarily emerges when your opponent is also on the ground, allowing you to pursue them, but otherwise, it leaves you at a disadvantage. Within Tekken, attacks are divided into 3 fundamental heights: high, mid, and low. These distinctions denote the vertical positioning of each attack, holding significant importance in shaping combat dynamics. strategic choices, and defensive maneuvers. High attacks in Tekken are designed to target the opponent's upper body or head. These strikes can be swiftly blocked by holding back or evaded by crouching. While high attacks boast speed, they are easily countered when an opponent crouches or uses a low attack, including moves that put your fighter in a crouching stance like Kazuya's Dragon Uppercut. If timed correctly, it can effectively evade high attacks. Overuse of high attacks makes them vulnerable to counters, yet they serve well as quick punishers. Throughout my Tekken experience, I've discovered that quick punches, despite their speed advantage, aren't always the optimal choice due to their limited range. Whiffing these attacks can leave you susceptible to punishment if your opponent capitalizes on spacing. Thus, caution is vital when executing high attacks, as they often pose the highest risk. Opponents tend to counter them by crouching or backstepping. Mid-attacks in Tekken are designed to target the opponent's torso or midsection, offering a versatile striking range. Their versatility lies in the fact that they cannot be avoided solely by standing or crouching. These strikes strike a balance between speed, damage output, and safety, establishing them as a fundamental element of combat. They often serve as starting moves for combos, with many launchers being mid-attacks that create opportunities for subsequent attacks. In my experience with Tekken, I've found mid-attacks to be the most impactful attack type in the game. Characters boasting superior mid-attacks tend to excel, given the potency of this attack category. For instance, upon selecting Kazuya as my main character, further exploration revealed his dominance. In various player-created tier lists, Kazuya consistently ranked among the top-tier characters. His twin pistons attack emerges as a formidable and efficient punisher, doubling as a potent combo initiator. His rising uppercut serves as a remarkable launcher, even when blocked. Its knockback effect ensures safety on block, further enhancing his strength in combat. Low attacks in Tekken are specifically aimed at the opponent's lower body or legs, typically executed by pressing down an X or circle. These strikes prove effective against standing opponents, as they necessitate crouching to block or evade. Although low attacks generally boast quick execution, they tend to yield less damage compared to high or mid-level attacks. They excel in serving as a means to prod at the opponent, often used for poking strategies. However, certain low attacks, such as Kazuya's Spinning Demon or Paul's Bone Breaker, deliver significant impact. While low attacks might not pack as much power as their counterparts, they prove valuable for mix-up strategies and exerting pressure on opponents, enabling players to utilize low kicks for finishing blows or for countering opponents spamming high attacks. Mastering the nuances of attacks at different heights forms a cornerstone of proficiency in Tekken. The game heavily emphasizes spatial awareness and capitalizing on opportunities to bait your opponent into making mistakes or punishing reckless maneuvers. As I navigated through Tekken, I found the combat to be immersive and enjoyable. Combos within Tekken wield immense power, capable of dealing damage from 70% to an entire 100% of your life bar. While these figures might seem staggering, it's crucial to note that many of these powerful strikes are vulnerable to punishment if blocked. Recognizing which attacks to wield cautiously becomes a linchpin for triumph in this game. Numerous high-damage moves, such as Kazuya's Dragon Uppercut, can inflict around 50% of your health bar, yet if thwarted, they leave you open to severe retribution. In this game, mastering optimal punishers proves essential for favorable outcomes, often involving mastery of launchers and juggles that yield significant damage. My character of choice, Kazuya, has led me to study the most effective attacks to capitalize on my opponent's vulnerabilities. While I'm still honing my combo execution skills, I've managed to learn 70% damage combos with Kazuya, a testament to my ongoing progression in the game. Tekken introduces unblockable attacks that possess a high damage potential but come with a significant drawback: their extended startup duration. Unfortunately, in practical gameplay, these unblockable attacks often feel ineffective. The lengthy startup time renders you vulnerable to counterattacks, leaving you open to punishment well before the attack can be executed. Given Tekken's moderate-paced combat style, characterized by a lack of rapid, incessant attacks, attempting to integrate unblockable into a strategy doesn't provide a substantial tactical advantage. Additionally, these unblockable moves tend to be unreliable against CPU opponents, contributing to their limited practicality during gameplay. Since we are on the subject of useless moves, each character has a 10-hit combo that is for the most part useless. They are still in the Tekken series to this day, because it has become one of its trademarks. The reason why the 10-hit combos are useless is they are a series of strings that switch from high to low, ending usually with a mid, but it does not have hit stun, so it does not link. That means even if you catch a person with the first few hits, they can just start blocking, even if it was a counterattack. Not only blocking, but punishing you for using the 10-hit combo. I can only perform a 10-hit combo on easy difficulty. The normal and above difficulty, the CPU will not get hit by this. It simply counterattacks me when I ever try to use them. 10-hit combos are nothing more than a knowledge check. I can only see this working on someone who doesn't know how to play this game or a new player, just to look cool or show off. Aside from that, there is no point in even trying to execute it. Learning it would benefit you in case someone tries to use it on you. Overall, don't go for it, except perhaps for a flashy display against a less experienced player. Speaking of flashy, let's discuss the select view option located on the left side of the screen. Pressing select alters the camera perspective to an over-the-top view. This particular angle appears rather odd and tends to make it more challenging to discern moves and actions. I wouldn't recommend utilizing this feature as it seems rather impractical. While this option doesn't particularly benefit or detract from the game, it remains a useless feature. It doesn't significantly impact gameplay, yet it doesn't enhance it either. My only gripe with it is that I wish there was a way to disable it, as it can be slightly annoying with its sporadic flashing on the left side of the screen. Nonetheless, the positive side is that it only lasts for a few seconds, which mitigates its potential irritation. Let's delve into the CPU within this game. Even on the normal difficulty setting, it displays impressive skill. In newer fighters, the CPU will let you get away with a lot of moves, but with Tekken by stage 5, you'll notice the CPU operating at a notably higher level. The CPU seems to be predicting my moves if I throw out high attacks. It will crouch, causing me to miss and offering a lesson in not recklessly spamming high attacks. Initially, this had me frustrated, because the CPU's adeptness at punishing these high attacks felt almost like it was cheating to win. However, a change in strategy proved crucial. Slowing down my attacks and avoiding reckless high moves became paramount, emphasizing safer plays and understanding my priority attacks that remain safe on block while minimizing punishment upon a miss. Interestingly, the CPU's tactics focus less on elaborate juggle combos and more on strategic pokes, concise combos, or single-hit attacks that pack a punch. Surprisingly, the boss fight against Heihachi turned out to be one of the easiest encounters once I figured out his pattern. I anticipated and capitalized on his vulnerable moments, particularly when he used the dragon uppercut. This move, easily punishable even on block, became a key vulnerability to exploit by maintaining distance, blocking, and countering with a well-timed launcher. This realization highlighted the significance of fighting game knowledge, a fundamental concept that rapidly enhanced my gameplay as I grasped the game's mechanics more deeply. After extensively delving into Tekken, playing every character, and clocking numerous rounds with Kazuya, my desire to challenge others online was palpable. Sadly, it's not possible. Despite its flaws, like a somewhat cluttered presentation, Tekken's major setback lies in its lack of a training mode, a critical gap for newcomers in the fighting game scene. This absence amplifies the learning curve, hindering understanding of fundamental fighting mechanics. However, its positives shine through. The gameplay's fluidity and strategic depth make each move consequential. The graphics, ahead of their time, coupled with memorable character designs, beg the question, why does Tekken linger in obscurity compared to its sequels? While Tekken 2 and 3 often steal the limelight, Tekken's foundational role in the series in 3D fighting games cannot be overstated. So, is Tekken good or bad? Without a doubt, Tekken is good. Tekken stands as a great game, a trailblazer that deserves more recognition for its influence and role in shaping the fighter genre. Tekken remains a pivotal game in gaming history, revered for its groundbreaking contributions to the fighting game genre. released during a period of evolution in 3D gaming, offering players a new level of depth and strategy in combat. Its accessible yet challenging gameplay mechanics and the diverse roster of characters, each with their distinct movements and storylines, added layers of depth and replayability. With fluid animations, innovative controls, and a dynamic combat system, Tekken set the stage for a franchise that would continually evolve and shape the future of fighting games, solidifying its place in gaming history as a pioneering title. And that wraps up today's video. I really hope you all enjoyed it. Feel free to drop your suggestions for other games you'd like me to explore in this series. I'm strongly considering focusing on fighters, beat-em-ups, and hack-and-slash titles since these genres don't often get the spotlight they deserve. Now, let's open up the discussion to you all. What are your thoughts on Tekken? I'm eager to hear your opinions, so please share them in the comments section below. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Until next time, take care, and I'll catch you all later.